When the Karnataka government rolled out its 5 guarantees, the reactions were mixed. Some called it historic welfare, a government finally putting women at the heart of policy making. Others dismissed it as populism or freebies, even terming it financial recklessness.
रेवड़ी कल्चर को देश की राजनीति से हटाना है.
But in between all this lied the real story.
ಎಷ್ಟು ಸೇವ್ ಆಗ್ತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು 4,000 ಇಂದ 3,000 ಇಂದ 4,000 ಸೇವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ.
One that's unfolding quietly across Karnataka's towns and cities, in bus stops, kitchens and classrooms.
ಈ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಇದು ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ಫುಡ್ಡು ಒನ್ ಡೇಗೆ ಆ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ.
And as we mark 100 episodes of Let Me Explain, that's what we want to talk about. The power of intention in public policy. What happens when governments center women in design, not as an afterthought, but as a starting point. What happens when freedom, dignity and equality are not slogans but measurable outcomes? To try and answer that question, this week we are in Karnataka, where these guarantees are already reshaping lives. Next week, we are traveling to Tamil Nadu to look at another model of gender-focused welfare. But first, let's talk about what happens when you design welfare intentionally. Let me explain. This is the 100th episode of Let Me Explain. Yes, the 100th milestone. But the number means something bigger. It shows that when journalism is done sincerely, when the aim is to explain and not sensationalize, and when it's done with you in mind and not the interests of governments or corporation, people respond to that. Your support has proved just that. And we want to keep doing this, to keep breaking things down, putting them in perspective and helping make sense of the noise. So many of you have supported us through the episodes, and we can't thank you enough. Today, I have 2 requests for you. One, do share the episodes that you like with other people. In a world of algorithms, the only way for smaller organizations like us to grow is when viewers like you share. 2, see that QR code or check the link in the description, make a contribution to the LME team so we can travel more, bring you more stories and grow as a team. At the News Minute, we don't take advertisements from corporates or governments. Our journalism runs only on reader and viewer support. So your support keeps our journalism free and fearless. 100 episodes in, and for 100 more to come. When the 5 guarantees were announced in Karnataka, it was one of the boldest welfare promises any state had made in recent years. Annabhagya promised food security. Gruha Lakshmi provided 2,000 monthly income for women heads of households. Gruha Jyoti offered free electricity up to 200 units. Unity gave support to unemployed young graduates and diploma holders. And Shakti, the most visible of them all, made bus travel free for women across Karnataka. The goal was simple: relieve the everyday costs that hold back people, especially women. But soon came the pushback. Would this bankrupt the state? Would people stop working? Would this make people more lazy? Would this become another रेवड़ी culture?
ये रेवड़ी कल्चर देश के विकास के लिए बहुत घातक है.
2 major studies and thousands of women are answering those questions now. The first study by Azim Premji University looked at over 2.7 crore BMTC bus trips between 2023 and 2025. They found that after the Shakti scheme started, women's daily ridership increased by 151%. Before the scheme, women made up to 40% of the total passengers. Now, they make up to 62%. That's not a seasonal spike, it's a structural shift. Women didn't just travel more often, they traveled farther to more parts of the city for more reasons, including work, education, healthcare, and of course, leisure. In central Bengaluru, places like Majestic KR Market and Shivaji Nagar regions, women now outnumber men on many roads.
Forget about the economic aspect for a second, but just think about it from the perspective of how the visibility of the city, how women's visibility in the city in itself is changing because of this scheme. They're accessing the heart of Bengaluru in terms of the commercial business district and all the kinds of opportunities that, at least in theory, now they can access.
And despite what critics feared, the finances held steady. Researchers found that while subsidies slightly exceed revenue, the gap is quite narrow. In other words, the buses didn't break the system. They broadened who the system serves. Most importantly, the study found something deeper. Women who had previously limited their movement due to cost can now travel without hesitation. For many, it's the first time mobility feels like a right and not a privilege. The second study zoomed out, led by public policy expert Tara Krishnaswamy with Lokniti CSTS, Bangalore University, Tumkur University and Indus Action. It surveyed 6,300 women across 15 districts. According to this study, nearly 9 in 10 women said their finances improved. 84% said their household stress reduced, 91% used the money for better food, 85% for healthcare, and 93% said they now have a greater say in family decisions. 2/3 said they now travel independently, and 1 in 5 said Shakti directly helped them find new or even better jobs. In short, the schemes didn't just reduce poverty, they expanded possibility.
Women are saving money. We only think of women getting money from Griha Lakshmi, 2,000 rupees a month, but women also save money because of Griha Jyoti, 200 units free, and Shakti, right, instead of spending on mobility. So all told, there is a pool of money for the women to spend. Mobility plus Griha Lakshmi has a huge sort of combinatorial effect. They're able to use the money that they get on the bus for free, go access healthcare, go access better paying jobs.
And here's what it looks like in real life.
ಇವಾಗ ಅದೇ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ವುಮನ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏಜ್ ಆಗಿರಿ ಸೀನಿಯರ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬ ಈ ಗೃಹಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ, ಗೃಹ ಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅನ್ನಭಾಗ್ಯ ಅಂತ ತುಂಬ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಅಂದರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಗೃಹಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ ಸ್ಕೀಮಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವಯಸ್ಸಾದವರು ಅವ್ರ ಕೈಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯಾಬ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಬೇರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಅವರು ಆಸೆ ಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ತಿನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರನ್ನೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡದೆ ಅವರೇ ಅದನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ನಾವು NGO ದಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿಗೆ ಯಾರ್ಯಾರೆಲ್ಲ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಮುಗಿಸಿದಾರೋ ಕೆಲಸದಾಗ ಅವ್ರ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಈ ಸ್ಕೀಮನ್ನು ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅವ್ರದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಇವನೇ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ.
ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿ ಇವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಇದರಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸೇವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ?
ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇವಾಗ 0 ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ 500 ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಇವಾಗ 0 ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಬಂದಿದ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದೇ. ಲೇಡೀಸ್ಗೂ ಅದು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್, ಯಾರು ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿಂದ ದುಡ್ಡು ತಗೊಂಡು ಇದು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಇದು ಆಗಲ್ಲ.
Now, of course, not everything works smoothly. Both studies found delivery gaps and uneven coverage. In Tumkuru and Mandya, results were strong. In Bengaluru, rural, Kolar and Kalburgi, they're weaker.
The single biggest barrier to the full realization of the benefits is the erratic disbursements of Griha Lakshmi. You can't say the money is 2,000 rupees will hit my account by the 1st of the month or the 5th of the month.
And migrant women, who are among the most mobility constrained groups, are still excluded from Shakti.
Some of the gaps that we thought were emerging from our study was that particularly southeast and the eastern peripheries of Bengaluru kind of lag behind. Now, this could be potentially because of migrant settlements. We do not have exact reason to pin it down. But what we do think is that extending, and this is one of our policy suggestions, is possibly to extend this for migrant women who remains one of the most mobility constrained groups, particularly the migrant working class women.
And in our own ground reports, we heard many complaints that many BPL families are being excluded deliberately from the PDS system so shops can meet the supply. All of these have to be fixed. But what also matters is that these schemes have shifted the baseline. They've made women visible in data, in travel, and in decision making. The bigger question now is this: what does this tell us about welfare itself? For decades now, India's welfare debate has been stuck in the freebie trap. We talk about debt and deficits, but rarely talk about what inequality actually costs us. Because inequality is expensive. It limits growth, innovation, and participation. Karnataka's data shows that when you give women access to mobility, to income, and to power, they don't just consume, they contribute. After the Shakti scheme launched, Karnataka's GST collections rose as more women entered the workforce and spent locally. In other words, welfare didn't slow the economy, it helped drive it. So maybe the lesson here is this: when you design welfare intentionally, not as charity, but as infrastructure, you build a stronger, a more inclusive society. Mobility, electricity, and food aren't luxuries. They're what make equality possible. Karnataka's 5 guarantees show that gender-sensitive welfare isn't a cost to be endured. It's an investment in people, in their productivity, and in their dignity. And if this is what happens when you design policy with women in mind, imagine what could happen when the same intention is applied to every part of governance. Because every woman who boards a BMTC bus, pays her own electricity bill, or uses her cash transfer to buy food or medicine, she is not just using a welfare scheme, she is rewriting what citizenship looks like. Now, before I go, on behalf of my entire team, thank you for showing us that honest, independent journalism still has value. And we want to continue doing this. So if you believe in what we do, please support us. Because without you, none of this would be possible.